Alrighty, so we're going to ask ChatGPT the following question. If the one world government described in Revelation of Jesus Christ was a accurate prophetic foretelling, which current organizations are likely to be the ones leading up to the creation or causing the creation of that one world government? And we already can think of, a couple organizations, famous global organizations. But let's see what ChatGPT says. And by the way, just to motivate this question, we all know that the one world government described in Revelation is not democratic. It's a tyrannical government. It's totalitarian. Nobody can purchase anything, buy or sell, unless they receive a mark, a mark on themselves, on their forehead and on their hands. We know that this system also has one currency and one religion as well. So there's no religious freedom. And power is definitely concentrated. We know power tends to corrupt. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. From Lord Acton. So let's ask ChatGPT this question. Okay, so typing in the question, if the first up, log on to ChatGPT. Alrighty, so if the one world government, if the one world government described in Revelation of Jesus Christ is accurate and prophetic, what current organizations exist that are likely to be the precursors or contributors to such a government? Okay, so here is the answer verbatim. You're stepping into interpretation rather than something we can verify empirically. So it's worth being clear up front. The one world government in the book of Revelation. I like that. Only God knows the future ultimately. Any man that tells you can predict the future, even a financial analyst, is a liar. Alright, so the one world government, quote unquote, in the book of Revelation is described in symbolic apocalyptic language. Different Christian traditions interpret those symbols very differently. Some see them as events in the first century, others as ongoing patterns, and others as future global developments. Because of that, there's no objective list of precursor organizations, only interpretations people have proposed. Okay, yes, but I want to know what you think, ChatGPT. That said, when people do connect modern institutions to those ideas, I want to know, ChatGPT, what you recommend, what you're going to recommend to anybody and everybody that uses your platform. Okay, so that said, when people do connect modern institutions to those ideas, they usually point to large international or transnational bodies that coordinate policy across nations. Makes logical sense. One world government is international by definition. Examples often mentioned include, top of the list, you betcha, United Nations. That seemingly benevolent elephant coordinates diplomacy, peacekeeping, and global development. And as I found out today, receives most of its funding from governments. USA, Japan, Canada, being the main contributors. US about 22% massive, which makes me already think it's any global government is going to be biased. If there's an unequal distribution of funding, just like there is in our current systems, where, for example, in Australia, a lot of our politicians receive money from the gas industry, and so by definition, and so they're not sort of, it's not in their interest, not the politician's interest. There's a conflict of interest there to promote solutions, promote taxes, etc., on the gas industry as a whole that benefit the gas companies, and less so the Australian citizens who really own the gas in the ground, don't we? Okay, so who else do we have? But the reason why I mentioned, just finish my point, that tangent there. The reason why I mentioned the funding bit is that it's not something I think governments normally have a mandate for, or provide. They don't normally provide a mandate to the people, do they? That X amount of money is going to go to United Nations. So how can the United Nations be representative? In that sense. And how do they elect? Who elects the head of the UN? How do citizens around the world elect that representative? I mean, we know national elections across the Western developed world. Well, I'll speak about Australia. I'll speak about America. Foreign policy of America. Those those wars against Iraq, now a recent war against Syria, well, not Syria, although that happened as well under the Obama regime, but the recent war against Iran. A lot of these aren't really mandated by the people. Donald Trump didn't actually said the opposite. He said that he wouldn't be going to war, putting, lots of American lives on the line. Our boys, our sons, they get into office and then they do whatever. So I'd argue we don't even have representative government here in the West anymore, even with elections, because both sides, Democrats, Republicans, Australia, Liberal, Labor, both sides seem to be advancing an agenda without a mandate from the people once they get in. So other examples, World Economic Forum, okay, convenes political and business leaders to discuss global issues. So to me, I did some research on this. To me, World Economic Forum sort of seems like a think tank for the United Nations, or the political arm. And so they just discuss a lot of ideas, and you often get clues as to what the bureaucrats, powerful bureaucrats around the world, are thinking. When you hear various speakers there at the World Economic Forum on their website, you see that they have 12 centers of thought, one for civic society, or the new society, as they call it, for AI, for cybersecurity, for technology, and new technology, and have a look. But what else do we have here? International Monetary Fund and World Bank influence global economic policy and development. Interesting. And we have the rise of crypto as well. Governments around the world, including America, putting in laws codifying the use of crypto in crypto instruments. Crypto seems to be decentralized, but because anybody can make Bitcoin, and using the computer, underwrite software on that computer. And anybody with a computer can make a transaction with a buyer-seller, and the record of that transaction is immutable. In other words, it's forever traceable. So the government makes laws utilizing involving that immutable ledger. So think of a receipt that can never be deleted, or a string of receipts. Now you can see that even though anybody can use Bitcoin, the government, that includes the government can use Bitcoin as well. Not only that, but but they can use the immutable ledger in Bitcoin to track. Information is power, as we know. World Health Organization coordinates international public health responses. I remember posters, posters at previous workplace telling us how to clean our hands after using the bathroom, and obviously COVID as well. The WHO was big pusher of the vaccines, and most countries around the world bought those vaccines and mandated that the people, the workers, get these vaccines in order to return to work after lockdown. And so people had no choice, right? If I want to keep earning dollars for my family, I've got to take the vaccine. And so already you have that coercive element at an international level. Now that's starting to grow. And European Union. Okay, of course the European Union is dedicated to Europe, but it'd be interesting to know the history of that. A regional example of countries pooling sovereignty. So you have Brexit, which is very interesting because a lot of British people seem to be upset that they couldn't control their own trade policy, and they were the British people were losing out because other EU members like Greece not contributing as much as Great Britain, for example, and so what happens when everybody's not pulling their weight? Other people have to cover for them, and is that fair for a nation? Is it fair? Nothing's fair in this world. People who are concerned. Okay, so people who are concerned. What does ChatGPT say here? Well, that's it. So let me know what you thought in the comments below. I am out.